Hey everybody, IcyCat here. Today the patch notes for Season 3 were posted, letting us know all the changes that we'll be expecting to start beginning tomorrow. So let's take a look and break it down. Patch 4.0 for the beginning of Season 3 goes live tomorrow, August 2nd. As usual, the two new operators will be available for Season Pass holders for free. Starting August 9th, non-Season Pass holders will also be eligible to earn the new operators for either 25,000 Renown or 600 Rainbow credits. The new map Favela will be available for free for everybody on August 2nd. This third major content update aims to improve the game experience by adding countermeasures for toxic behavior, a new weapon attachment, several game enhancements, customization content, and lots more. First up, the new map Favela mixes colorful and narrow streets with high vantage points. This map supports exterior shell destruction, which renders it as the most destructible to date. There will also be several new Skull Rain weapon skins available. I'll be doing a review on what those look like in-game shortly after they become available. I'm not really going to go into any detail about the two new operators. You can look for my operator profiles on those in the coming days. And if you've been staying with the coverage I've been doing on this channel, you already know a lot about them anyway. There's a new game mode called Tactical Realism. This adds the new mode to custom games only. This is basically a hardcore mode. It limits the HUD to display the round timer, compass, gadget, and weapon panels. It prevents you from marking your enemy, removes kill confirmations, provides a realistic magazine management-based system for ammo, and more. Again, this is currently only available from within custom games, not in general matchmaking. At least not yet. There's also the implementation of the new surrender system. They say if the field becomes too rough for your team, you can now cut it short and move on to another match. The objective was to accelerate the process by allowing a team to forfeit if they don't wish to be forced to play the match through to the end. You can now cast a vote to surrender during a ranked match. You'll need the majority on your side for your team to forfeit. This new feature is only available prior to the third round. This is only for ranked gameplay, and what this will do is if you find yourself in a very uneven based match, you can just get out quickly, or if you find yourself in a situation where the match begins on a 5v5 and a couple people dump out, suddenly you're 3v5 or 2v5, you can quickly kind of get your way out of that match. They also talk about game health, and we've been discussing Battle Eye on here a few days ago. We did some coverage on that, but not only have they implemented a client-side anti-cheat, they've also been working with Fairfight to improve their server-side detection methods too. This should make anti-cheat both client-side and server-side more robust overall. Additional team-killing countermeasures have been added. They say that after monitoring the adjustments that were made with patch 3.3 and 3.4, they've taken steps to improve the methods that they're using to detect excessive team killers and punish them accordingly. Now that's good because currently it's still quite possible to team kill even with the heavier penalties in place as long as people do it in a limited amount. I'm not sure what the new changes to this will be specifically as they haven't been spelled out, but I hope that they do become more effective overall. Steps have also been taken to improve the vote to kick feature and improve the overall experience for players. Players will now be met with a walkthrough for how to vote kick another player on their respective platforms since the way you do it is changing a little bit now. Additionally, once a vote has been initiated, all other players who are eligible to take part are presented with an on-screen notification. In an attempt to deal with toxic players, you're now able to hide text chat on PC. This will allow players to avoid those who wish to spam the chat or send toxic messages. You can disable the in-game chat in the HUD preferences section of the gameplay tab on the options menu. They wanted to address operator limbs clipping through walls and barricades. One point of frustration from the community occurred when a player was killed through a wall and only realized after watching the kill cam that their leg was visible from the other side. They say that this has been fixed in patch 4 courtesy of significant improvements to what they call dynamic clipping. When a player goes prone against a wall or a deployable shield, their body parts will no longer be visible from the other side. This is done by clipping body parts that collide with geometry of a given object. So in other words, if the player model intersects with physical geometry in the map, like a wall or something, it shouldn't draw the portion of the player model that would have been visible on the other side of the wall. They state that this technology is still being tweaked and improved, so there may be fringe cases where clipping still occurs. Additionally, while body parts will not be visible when they are clipped through an object, they will still be able to take damage. So it's not that the player isn't actually still sometimes showing through the wall, it's just that when they do, the game engine will render those parts as invisible even though they're still actually there. One particular goal is to apply the same process to weapon and gadget clipping as well. So for now, you can still see those pieces clip through, but if they see that this new method works well for the player models and it's effective, then they hope to bring that to the weapons and gadgets later on. The field of view has now been standardized for all players when using cameras and during the kill cam. Prior to this patch, making adjustments to your field of view on PC would allow defenders to gather more intel than originally intended for cameras. This has now been standardized, and the same field of view will be applied to all users while they are using cameras, and they'll then revert back to their chosen field of view setting upon exiting the camera. This will also apply to killcams. In the past, this could lead to discrepancies on the kill cam versus what players were able to see due to their personal field of view settings, and accusations of misconduct were made based on these erroneous replays, so now we're going to get something that's just a little bit more evened out for everyone to see the same thing. Kill cam is also now a more accurate representation of what happened. Prior to Season 3, the kill cam had been used as a tool to identify specific tactics used by the enemy to circumvent your team's defense, or as a way to identify a particularly suspect play. After Season 3, the kill cam will provide more clear insight as to how a player was killed. Improvements have been made to bullet trajectory replication, camera offset, blood splatter effects, and operator movements during the kill cam replay. They say not only will this improvement allow players to learn their enemy's movement more accurately, but it will also cut down on the number of plays that look a little too incredible to be real. They also decided to take a look at ways to improve the matchmaking experience. While searching for ways to improve times and overall matchmaking, they noticed that players would sometimes leave a match before it started after viewing the win-loss or kill-death ratio of the opposing team. This has been removed so that people won't be able to abandon matches just because they saw this information and made their decision to bail based on that. They've also implemented better tracking of connectivity and matchmaking issues that players are facing. They improved tracking for disconnections in the matchmaking process in order to more quickly reach the root issues that some players are facing. This way, they can react more quickly if a specific error code is on the rise or it shows a negative trend in the matchmaking process. Overall, this should lead to a decrease in the number of disconnections as well as an improved matchmaking experience. We've also got some changes to the way that you load out, so the teammate loadout information on the waiting screen has been changed. You can now view your teammates' loadouts on the updated waiting screen. This will allow you to adjust your loadout depending on what your teammates are carrying into the field. At the press of a button, you'll know right away who took a shotgun or a nitrocell without having to ask people or wait until the game starts to figure out what the overall team composition is. You just press a button and you immediately see everybody's information, who's got what for primary, secondary, gadgets, loadouts, everything. Speaking of weapon loadouts, we also have full screen weapon preview. You can now zoom in on weapons in the operator loadout screen as well as rotate them. You can also attach weapon skins and charms in this preview window as well. Utilizing what's called the centered control feature, you can focus on a specific point on a weapon and pan the camera around this point. You're also able to use points of interest to immediately zoom into the appropriate part of the weapon. So if you're attaching a silencer, it'll zoom in on the barrel. If you're attaching a grip, it'll go underneath it. If you're attaching a scope, it'll zoom to that portion of the gun. If you're putting on a charm, it'll kind of, zoom in on that section. That's kind of what it's talking about there. This is one I'm kind of excited to see. Map rotation will now appear more random. After playing a specific map a few times in a row, they noticed that players would get frustrated and they would have this perceived lack of variety in the map rotation. I'd experienced this a lot myself. There's some nights where I swear I would play Clubhouse 5 times and then maybe bank twice and I wouldn't see any other maps. I mean, it just seems like sometimes this sort of thing would happen. Well, now they're going to be using an algorithm that improves the likelihood of a new map being selected by picking one of the least played maps by all players in their current game session. Hopefully this helps things feel more random, and we'll see. I would still like to see an option where at some point down the road, maybe they allow us to pick between an A map and a B map with a third option being a random selection, kind of like how other popular first-person shooters do it. That way, if players are experiencing map fatigue with a given level, they can choose something else and mix things up based on what they want as a whole. I don't know if that's something we'll see down the road or not, but that would be one way to also address this problem. At the start of the match during the planning phase, both attackers and defenders will now be able to use the new tactical maps. These maps offer significantly more detail because previously the maps would be these kind of black and white floor plans, didn't give you a lot of information. These are now full color and show you a little bit of the environment and what's going on, and really allow you to orient yourself more specifically into the top-down view that you're seeing before the round launches. Players can now also choose which operator spawns with the defuser. Teams are now able to coordinate and decide which player will spawn with the defuser, and this will help prevent situations where players would need to drop the defuser at the start of the round should carrying it not fit in with the team's strategy. This is also really important in ranked matches because based on where you would start with your spawn, you wouldn't know who would have the defuser, and it could actually spawn on a side of the map that was really inconvenient if you were doing a split spawn attack. Now you can get that out of the way right away and know who has it. Another popular community request is that players will now have a compass on their HUD when they're using a drone or camera. This will enable players to more accurately relay information to their teammates. Hopefully this also applies to spectated cameras, not just active cams. Also, I'm hoping that one day they'll fix the fact that you can pan a drone camera while spectating, but you can't tilt it. If you can control one axis of movement while spectating, you should be able to control both. Here's one that'll see a lot of use for me. Location ping has been upgraded to be more user-friendly. Adjustments were made to the location ping feature. They have increased the maximum range, duration, and scale of the marker. It's been increased from 3 to 5 seconds. The max distance is now 100 meters, and the ping marker will now scale with distance for better readability. Even though I use active comms and we're verbally communicating really well on teams that I generally play with, having that ping feature is just so useful. If you want to tell somebody put up a reinforced panel and they're like, where, just ping that wall right there. Or, if you know somebody's pushing in through the other side of a wall, say they're on the other side of that wall and just ping it. It's a very fast and quick reference for the team to see. I use it all the time, and I'm glad to see that it's getting a little bit of an upgrade. The in-game HUD is now also going to provide more clear information at a glance. They say updates were applied to the in-game HUD that will make determining the status of your teammates a much smoother process. In addition to the teammate status display, they've also updated the health gauge at the bottom left of the screen. The armor rating display was removed as it was irrelevant to you while you were in the middle of playing a round. You can find out that information at the operator select screen. Players who have equipped Rook's armor plates will still have a green indicator. Also, north on the compass is now given a red highlight for easier readability. Another HUD change is that it's now less invasive when the defuser is on the ground. Sometimes people had difficulties locating enemies through the HUD elements relating to the defuser, so they trimmed down the impact that the defuser has on the player's HUD. They reduced the overall size of the HUD indicator to the point that you'll be able to clearly see an enemy should they be on the other side of it. A slight quality of life change coming to the menu system is that most recently played playlist will be the default selection when accessing the main menu. It's a little thing, but a lot of people in the community have been asking for it. Ping latency and FPS information can now be displayed to improve awareness of performance. You're now able to activate an in-game overlay that displays your ping, FPS, and version number. The color of the values will change depending on performance. For example, a high ping or a low FPS will be displayed in red, whereas a low ping or high FPS will be displayed in white. This will be adjusted automatically depending on the game mode and platform you're playing on. This will allow players to be more aware of situations when they're suffering from high latency or low FPS. Now, they want us to know that this is a tool for debugging and troubleshooting purposes and may block other information on your HUD if you use this setting, so use it at your own discretion. PC players will also benefit from more intricate mouse sensitivity options. You can now fine-tune your mouse sensitivity to help improve your performance, and they say that this is from feedback that is courtesy of Pro League players. Players on PC are now able to adjust their mouse sensitivity both vertically and horizontally. An important update coming to Ranked is that there will be a soft reset of all ranks. All the players' ranks will be shifted toward the center, high bronze and low silver, based on their uncertainty value. The uncertainty value revolves around the number of matches you've played. They said that in an effort to reduce the amount of matches required to regain your previous rank, they've increased the uncertainty, which allows players to advance more quickly from their placement matches. So for example, the more games that a diamond player had played, the higher their matchmaking rating will be after the soft reset, thus making it easier to reclaim their previous rank. All players will be required to play 10 placement matches at the start of Season 3 to obtain a rank. We saw the same thing at the beginning of Season 2. They've also included a new feature that will let you know how many ranked matches you have left until you obtain your initial rank. After each match, you'll be presented with the number of ranked matches you have completed out of 10. Once you've completed all 10, then you'll be assigned a rank based on your performance. We do have a change for Terrorist Hunt in that terrorists are now more reactive. AI were not as responsive to footsteps as intended. They will now be significantly more responsive to players' movement. While it's good to see something get updated in this mode, they could really do a lot more to keep this more of a fresh and interesting mode of play. I hope that Season 4 brings about some more significant changes for the co-op play. A new change for custom matches is that when the host of a dedicated custom game quits, you can keep on playing. After this patch, regardless of whether or not the host of a dedicated server-hosted custom match disconnects, the game will continue on. There will also now be a Ready Up feature that will make it clear to the host when all players are ready to play. A really cool new addition to the game this season is the specialization of weapon attachments. They say they believe that weapon attachments need to have their own unique, defined roles. And in doing so, they're moving away from the single best attachment for all situations. So one addition that they've provided is the inclusion of an angled foregrip. This will be a go-to weapon attachment for players that enjoy playing aggressively, and this falls in line with adjustments made during Season 2, such as flash hiders being more suited toward players firing short bursts, while compensators are ideal for periods of sustained fire. The angled grip works in that it will create a faster snap to ADS time, but it also has reduced recoil control to come with it. So while you'll be able to do those rushing plays a little bit more aggressively, you'll have a little bit less control while you're trying to do those sustained bursts of fire. They say that there are going to be more balancing changes to come. Right now, there's no operator balance changes, but they will be having more of those coming later on in Season 3. So for those of you waiting for the Tachanka buff or whatever your favorite operator buff is, nothing right now, but they say there will be more coming down the road, just not initially. We now also have increased season pass value. They say that as requested by the community, they've taken steps to improve the value of the season pass. Starting with this patch, season pass holders will now have a 10% VIP discount for all content in the shop. This discount will apply to both Renown and Rainbow Six credit purchases made there. You'll notice a unique VIP icon next to the shop tab as a reminder that you have this discount available to you. There's also been a few changes to some main menu news setups, so in the game, the news items will now be clickable. Players will now be able to navigate to a web post regarding a specific article of information, and they put this feature in place to make the process of accessing information smoother. The in-game news items also rotate, so they'll cycle through various news items that are posted, and this kind of keeps you apprised of like more than one piece of information at a time. There's also a web page upgrade for ranked players. There's a stats page with a new season reward section that'll keep you informed of your end of season reward. They say this page will be updated toward the end of each season. After this comes a list of a ton of new things that have been fixed in the game. Level design fixes, operator fixes, just all kinds of things. And it is literally too much for me to cover in the scope of a video. This video would go more than twice as long if I did. In fact, just to kind of illustrate to you how many of these little fixes are in here, somebody posted a text version of these on the subreddit, and they had to do it across 4 separate posts because it was too long to fit into one. Somebody figured out that there's a 10,000 character limit in a post, so if you had to spread it across 4, that's 40,000 characters worth of bug fix information that was posted there. I literally cannot convey this to you in a single video, so what I'm going to do instead is redirect you to the official patch notes on the website themselves. You can see the information on the screen here. I'll also put that in the expanded comments below the video player. That way you can copy paste that into your web browser of choice and go check it out. Many of them are pretty minor ones, but there's some bigger ones in there too. And it fits in with the overall theme of this season being all about the game's health, making sure it's stable, reliable, and well balanced. The new Skull Rain DLC does go live tomorrow, August 2nd, and in the coming days you can look forward to operator profiles, map walkthroughs, tips, tricks, information, and more. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to stay up to date on all that latest information. You can also follow me at IcyCat25 on either Facebook or Twitter. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.